Imagine walking into work, thinking it's just another normal day, and then completely embarrassing someone, only to find out they have more power than you could ever imagine. That's exactly what happened to one doctor, who treated a quiet, unassuming man like he was nothing, without realizing he owned the entire hospital. This doctor didn't hold back. He was rude, dismissive, and full of himself. He thought he was dealing with just another ordinary patient. But what he didn't know was that the man sitting right in front of him was none other than Keanu Reeves. And by the time he figured it out, the damage was already done. The moment of truth hit like a brick wall, and there was no taking it back. How do you recover from insulting someone who could change your entire career with one decision? Well, let's just say, this doctor learned a lesson he'll never forget. Keanu Reeves is not just another Hollywood star. He's one of the most respected actors in the world, not just for his roles in movies like The Matrix and John Wick, but for the kind of person he is in real life. Unlike many celebrities, he doesn't show off his wealth or act like he's better than anyone else. In fact, he's known for being incredibly humble, taking the subway, chatting with fans, and even giving away millions of dollars to charity without making a big deal out of it. One of his biggest passions is helping people, especially when it comes to healthcare. Over the years, he has donated large amounts of money to hospitals, cancer research, and medical programs that help families in need. He even set up a foundation to support children's hospitals, but he never put his name on it because he didn't want attention for it. But even someone as kind as Keanu isn't immune to being treated poorly. And on this particular day, none of his generosity mattered. To one arrogant doctor, he was just another regular guy, not worth his time or respect. And that was a big mistake. Keanu walked into the hospital like any regular person. No fancy suit, no security guards, no cameras following him around. Just a plain jacket, jeans, and the quiet, humble attitude he's known for. To anyone passing by, he looked like just another guy waiting his turn. No one would guess that he had more than enough money to buy the entire building. He sat patiently, waiting to be called. But the moment the doctor laid eyes on him, it was clear he wasn't going to get the warmest welcome. The doctor barely looked at him before sighing, already acting like he was wasting his time. Without even asking questions, he made assumptions. This was just some ordinary man, probably struggling to afford his visit. Instead of treating him with care, the doctor rushed through everything. His tone was cold, his words dismissive. He spoke like Keanu was beneath him, making sarcastic remarks and acting as if he had better things to do. At one point, he even muttered something about how people should know their place when coming to a private hospital. The staff nearby exchanged awkward glances, clearly uncomfortable, but no one dared to step in. Despite all of this, Keanu didn't react. He didn't snap back or reveal who he was. He simply nodded, stayed polite, and let the doctor continue. But the doctor had no idea. His attitude was about to come back to haunt him in the worst way possible. The doctor barely tried to hide his attitude. As he scribbled on a clipboard, he sighed loudly, shaking his head like Keanu was wasting his time. "Look," he said, his tone sharp. "If you can't afford this treatment, maybe try a free clinic?" Keanu didn't flinch. He just sat there, calm as ever. The doctor, mistaking his silence for embarrassment, smirked. "You don't look like someone who belongs in a private hospital," he added, his voice dripping with arrogance. A couple of nurses overheard and glanced at each other, uncomfortable. But no one said anything. Keanu could have easily put the doctor in his place right then and there. He could have dropped his name, pulled out his wallet, or even walked out and bought the hospital on the spot. But instead, he just smiled, as if none of it bothered him. Then everything changed. A hospital board member happened to walk by, glancing into the room. The moment he saw Keanu, he froze. His face went pale. Then, in an instant, his entire body language shifted. Eyes wide, back straight, hands nervously adjusting his tie. He hurried inside, his voice suddenly full of respect. "Mr. Reeves, what an honor to have you here," he said, almost stumbling over his words. The nurses looked shocked. The doctor, his smirk disappeared in a second. For the first time that day, he really looked at Keanu. And in that moment, he realized he had just humiliated the man who owned the hospital. The room went silent. The doctor's arrogance vanished in an instant as he watched the board member rush over to Keanu with an expression that was a mix of shock and nervous excitement. "Mr. Reeves, it's great to see you again," the board member said, his voice suddenly full of respect. "How's your investment in the new wing coming along?" The color drained from the doctor's face. His mind raced, trying to make sense of what he just heard. Investment? New wing? His stomach dropped. Keanu wasn't just some random patient. He wasn't some guy off the street who had wandered into the wrong hospital. He was the Keanu Reeves. The same Keanu Reeves who had quietly donated millions to improve hospitals and healthcare facilities. The same Keanu Reeves who, as it turned out, owned the very building they were standing in. The doctor's mouth went dry. His hands twitched at his sides. A minute ago, he had been the one in control, looking down on Keanu like he was nothing. Now he was the one being watched. The nurses he had ignored were suddenly eyeing him, waiting to see what would happen next. Keanu, still as calm as ever, gave a small smile. He looked the doctor straight in the eye and said, "I was just here to see how things are run, and now I know." That was it. No anger. No yelling. No dramatic speech. Just a simple sentence that hit harder than any insult ever could. The doctor swallowed hard. His mind scrambled for a way out. He let out a nervous chuckle and stepped forward. "Mr. Reeves, I didn't realize." He stopped mid-sentence. What was he even going to say? That he would have treated Keanu better if he had known who he was? That he only respected people with money and power? No excuse would save him now, and he knew it. The panic in his eyes said it all. He had made a huge mistake, and there was no undoing it. The doctor barely had time to process what had just happened before he was called into a meeting with the hospital board. He sat stiffly in the conference room, his confidence completely shattered. Just hours ago, he had strutted through the hospital, treating patients however he pleased. Now he was sitting in front of the people who decided his future, and worst of all, Keanu Reeves was there too. But Keanu wasn't angry. He didn't demand that the doctor be fired. He didn't humiliate him in front of everyone. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, calm as ever, and said, "Maybe next time, treat every patient with respect, no matter who they are." That one sentence hit harder than any punishment ever could. The doctor swallowed, feeling a weight in his chest. He had spent years thinking he was above the people he treated, judging them based on their appearance, assuming they weren't worth his time. And now, in front of a man who could have easily ruined his career, all he felt was shame. The hospital board took the situation seriously. They announced new policies to make sure every patient was treated with the same respect, no matter who they were. Staff members would receive better training, and complaints about rude behavior wouldn't be ignored anymore. As for the doctor, he left that meeting with his head down, his ego completely crushed. He had learned a painful lesson, one that he would never forget. At the end of the day, this wasn't about wealth or status. It was about respect. The doctor judged Keanu based on his appearance, assuming he wasn't important, only to find out he was the most powerful person in the room. But the truth is, everyone deserves to be treated with kindness, no matter who they are. Keanu didn't need to humiliate the doctor. He didn't need to yell, demand revenge, or make a scene. The doctor humiliated himself by showing his true colors, and in the end, he had to face the consequences of his own arrogance. This story is a reminder. You never know who you're dealing with. The person you look down on today might be the one who changes your life tomorrow. So why not treat everyone with respect from the start? Now, here's a question for you. What would you have done in this situation? Would you have handled it the way Keanu did? Or would you have called the doctor out right away? Let us know in the comments.